My daughter-in-law broke my arm in 3 places because I wouldn't give her a lottery ticket worth $2 million. I was 64 years old, lying on my living room floor, bones sticking through skin, screaming for help while she tore through my house like a rabid animal looking for that ticket. She didn't call 911 until she'd searched every drawer, every closet, every corner of the home I'd lived in for 40 years. And when the paramedics finally arrived, she played the concerned family member, crying fake tears while I bled on the carpet my dead wife picked out. I'm Harold Peterson, retired construction worker, widower, diabetic, and apparently the obstacle standing between my son's wife and a fortune she thought she deserved. That lottery ticket was the first one I'd won in 30 years of playing the same numbers. Martha's birthday, our anniversary, the day our son Derek was born. Fridays at 6 p.m. every single week since 1995, I'd buy that ticket. It was our ritual. Even after she died, I kept it going. And the one time I finally won, the one time those numbers actually hit, it nearly cost me my life. If you've ever trusted someone who turned out to be a monster, if you've ever been attacked by family, if you've ever had to choose between protecting yourself and protecting the people you love, sit down. This story doesn't end with forgiveness. It ends with handcuffs, courtrooms, and secrets so dark they made the assault look like nothing. Because Vanessa didn't just break my arm that day. She broke open her entire fake life, and I was there with cameras rolling, watching it all crumble. The ticket was hidden inside Martha's urn the whole time. My daughter-in-law ransacked my home, threw my dead wife's belongings across the room, shattered picture frames, and never thought to look in the one place I knew was sacred. She violated everything, found nothing, and sealed her own fate. And when I showed the police the security footage, when they saw what she really was, the arrest was just the beginning of her nightmare. Subscribe to Grandpa's Diaries if you want to know what happens when a lottery winner fights back against the family member who tried to rob him. Because this isn't a story about money. It's about a woman who thought a 64-year-old man with diabetes and a broken arm would be too weak to destroy her. She thought wrong. Dead wrong. My arm was shattered so badly the doctor said I'd never regain full use of it. 3 fractures, 2 surgeries, months of physical therapy I couldn't afford until I cashed that ticket. But the pain in my arm was nothing compared to what came next. Discovering my son knew. Discovering he defended her. Discovering that the woman who nearly killed me had done this before to someone else. To multiple someone else's. And realizing that my revenge wouldn't just be about justice, it would be about exposure. Hit that subscribe button, because what I did to Vanessa Martinez Peterson made headlines in 3 states. And every single second of her downfall is caught on camera. Documented, undeniable. Some people think lottery winners are lucky. I learned that luck is just another word for target. But I also learned that underestimating an old man with nothing left to lose is the last mistake you'll ever make. Welcome to the story of how I won $2 million and paid for it with my arm, my son's marriage, and my daughter-in-law's freedom. Let's see if you think the trade was worth it. Derek brought Vanessa home for Thanksgiving 3 years ago, and I should have known something was wrong right then. She was 29, my son was 32, and she had this way of smiling that never quite reached her eyes. Martha would have spotted it immediately. She always had a sixth sense about people. But Martha had been gone for 5 years by then, and I was just grateful Derek had found someone who made him happy. Or at least, someone who made him think he was happy. Vanessa was beautiful in that calculated way, the kind of woman who knew exactly what angles worked best for photos, exactly what to say to charm older men like me. She called me Dad within the first month, brought me cookies she claimed were homemade, asked about my health and my late wife with what seemed like genuine concern. I ate it up like the lonely old fool I was. She'd sit next to me at dinner, laugh at my stories, touch my arm when she talked. Derek looked at her like she'd hung the moon. I thought I'd gotten lucky, that my son had found a good woman after years of failed relationships. I was so spectacularly, catastrophically wrong. The wedding was small, quick, almost rushed. Vanessa said she didn't have much family. Parents died in a car accident, no siblings, grew up in foster care. It all sounded tragic and explained why she clung to Derek so tightly, why she was so eager to become part of our family. I walked her down the aisle since she had no father to do it. I gave a toast about how Martha would have loved her. I helped them with the down payment on their house. I was building a relationship with my daughter-in-law, investing in my son's future, being the supportive father I'd always tried to be. Looking back, the red flags were everywhere. She never wanted us to visit their house, always insisted on coming to mine. She had no old photos, no childhood friends, no history she was willing to share beyond vague stories. She changed the subject whenever anyone asked too many questions, and she had this way of isolating Derek, slowly cutting him off from his friends, from me, making herself the center of his entire universe. But I chalked it up to newlywed behavior, to her traumatic past making her protective. I made excuses because the alternative was admitting my son had married someone I couldn't trust. Martha and I had always played the lottery together. $5 every Friday, same numbers, same gas station on Route 9. After she died, I kept the tradition alive as a way to feel connected to her, like she was still part of my weekly routine. Derek knew about it. He'd joke that I was wasting my money, that the odds of winning were astronomical, but it wasn't about the money. It was about memory, ritual, keeping Martha alive in the small ways I could. That lottery ticket represented 30 years of Friday nights, 30 years of hope and partnership and love. It was never just a piece of paper. When I checked the numbers that Friday night in October and realized I'd won, my first thought was Martha. My second thought was Derek. $2 million could change everything. Pay off his mortgage, secure his future, fund the medical treatments my insurance wouldn't cover. I could finally stop worrying about being a burden. Finally give my son the inheritance I'd always wanted to leave him. I sat in my kitchen, hands shaking, staring at that ticket, and I cried. Happy tears, grateful tears, the kind of tears that come when you think God finally remembered you exist. I didn't tell anyone immediately. I wanted to plan it right, make it special, maybe hire a lawyer to help me structure everything legally so Derek wouldn't get hit with massive taxes. I put the ticket in Martha's urn because it was the safest place I could think of. No one would ever look there. No one would ever violate that space. Or so I thought. What I didn't know was that Vanessa had been watching me that Friday night through my living room window. She'd seen me check the numbers. She'd seen me cry. And she'd decided, right then and there, that the money was hers. All she had to do was take it. And she didn't care what she had to break to get it. Vanessa showed up at my house the next morning, Saturday, around 9 a.m. I was making coffee, still processing the win, still planning how to tell Derek. She let herself in with the spare key I'd given her. The key I'd given her because she was family, because I trusted her. She walked into my kitchen wearing yoga pants and a tight smile, and she said, "We need to talk about that lottery ticket, Dad." The way she said "Dad" made my skin crawl. It wasn't affectionate. It was possessive. I played dumb at first, asked her what she meant. She laughed, but it wasn't a real laugh. It was the sound a predator makes before it attacks. "I saw you last night through your window. I saw you checking numbers. I saw you crying. You won, didn't you? How much?" Her eyes were different than I'd ever seen them. Cold, calculating, stripped of all the fake warmth she usually wore like a mask. This was the real Vanessa, and she was terrifying. I told her I'd won some money, yes, but that I was planning to discuss it with Derek first, figure out the best way to handle it as a family. She stepped closer, invading my space, and her voice dropped to something low and dangerous. "Here's how we're going to handle it, Harold. You're going to give me that ticket right now, today, and we're going to cash it together, split it 50-50. You get $1 million, I get $1 million. Derek doesn't need to know. This is between us. You do this and everyone stays happy." I actually laughed. Nervous, uncomfortable, but I laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't joking. Her face hardened, jaw clenched, and she repeated herself slowly like I was stupid. "Give me the ticket, Harold, right now, I'm not asking." I told her no. I told her that money was for Derek, for our family, and that I'd decide how to distribute it fairly. I told her she was being inappropriate and needed to leave my house. That's when everything changed. That's when I saw the monster behind the mask. "You selfish old man," she hissed, and the venom in her voice made me step back. "You think you're going to cut me out? I'm his wife. I'm the one who takes care of him, who puts up with him, who's been playing the perfect daughter-in-law for 3 years waiting for you to die so we could inherit something. And now you finally have something worth taking and you're going to play the martyr?" The words hit me like physical blows. Waiting for me to die. Playing perfect. She'd been acting this entire time. None of it was real. I ordered her to get out. My voice shook, but I meant it. She needed to leave before this got worse, before I said something I couldn't take back. She stood there for a long moment, breathing hard, eyes wild with rage, and then she smiled. It was the most chilling thing I'd ever seen. "You know what, Harold? You're right. I'll leave. But you're going to regret this. You're going to wish you'd just given me what I wanted." She walked toward the front door, and I exhaled, thinking it was over. Then she turned around. She came back through the living room fast, too fast for my old reflexes. She shoved me with both hands, hard, and I stumbled backward. My foot caught on the edge of the stairs leading to the second floor, and I fell. The sound of my arm snapping was so loud I thought someone had fired a gun. The pain was instantaneous, blinding, all-consuming. I landed at the bottom of the stairs, arm twisted at an impossible angle, bone visible through torn skin, and I screamed. I screamed for help, for my son, for God, for anyone. Vanessa stood at the top of the stairs looking down at me, and she didn't move. She didn't call for help. She didn't apologize. She said, "Where is it?" And then she stepped over me like I was trash and started tearing my house apart, looking for a ticket that would have made her a millionaire if she'd just waited one more day for me to do the right thing. But patience wasn't in her nature. Violence was. And I'd just become another obstacle she was willing to destroy. I was conscious for all of it. Every drawer she ripped open, every cabinet she ransacked, every picture frame she threw across the room looking for that ticket. I lay there on the floor with my arm shattered, going in and out of shock, watching my daughter-in-law destroy my home while I bled. She pulled books off shelves, emptied closets, tore through my bedroom like a tornado. She found my wallet, took the cash. She found Martha's jewelry box, pocketed the rings. She was robbing me while I was dying at the bottom of my own stairs, and the rage I felt was stronger than the pain. 20 minutes. That's how long she searched before she finally called 911. 20 minutes of me screaming, begging for help, watching her ignore me completely. When she finally made the call, her voice was Oscar-worthy, panicked, crying, hysterical. "My father-in-law fell down the stairs. Please hurry, there's so much blood, I don't know what to do." She knelt next to me after she hung up, and she whispered in my ear so quietly the 911 operator wouldn't hear, "Tell anyone what really happened, and I'll make sure Derek never speaks to you again. Say you fell, say it was an accident, or lose your son forever." The paramedics arrived 8 minutes later. By then, Vanessa had composed herself into the perfect concerned daughter-in-law, holding my good hand, stroking my hair, crying about how she'd arrived and found me like this. I was too weak to argue, too destroyed to fight back. The pain medication they gave me made everything fuzzy, and by the time we got to the hospital, I wasn't even sure what was real anymore. Maybe I had just fallen. Maybe my old, diabetic body had finally betrayed me. Maybe Vanessa was innocent and I was losing my mind. Derek met us at the emergency room. He looked terrified, pale, younger than his 32 years. Vanessa ran to him crying, telling him how she'd found me, how scared she was, how lucky she'd gotten there when she did. And my son, my beloved son, bought every word. He hugged her like she was a hero. He thanked her for saving me. I watched this happen from my hospital bed, arm in temporary splints waiting for surgery, and something inside me died. Not from the fall, from the realization that my son would believe her over me no matter what I said. The surgery took 4 hours. 3 pins, 2 plates, and a rod to hold the bones together. The orthopedic surgeon said I'd been lucky. Another inch and I would have severed the radial artery and bled out. Lucky. I'd been assaulted in my own home and they called it lucky. When I woke up in recovery, Derek was there, but Vanessa wasn't. He held my good hand and cried, apologizing for not being there, for not visiting more, for being a bad son. And I almost told him everything right then. Almost. But Vanessa's threat echoed in my morphine-soaked brain. Tell anyone, and lose your son forever. I spent 3 days in the hospital. Derek visited twice. Vanessa didn't visit at all. Too traumatized, Derek said, from finding me like that. The nurses were kind, the physical therapist was optimistic, but none of it mattered because I was planning. Every moment I was alone, I was thinking about those security cameras I'd installed 6 months ago after the neighborhood had a string of break-ins. 4 cameras. Living room, kitchen, front door, back door. Motion-activated, cloud-stored, recording everything, including a crystal-clear view of Vanessa pushing me down those stairs. When they discharged me on Tuesday, Derek drove me home. The house was exactly as Vanessa had left it, destroyed. Drawers open, belongings scattered, Martha's things violated and tossed around like garbage. Derek saw it and assumed it had happened during my fall, that I'd knocked things over, that the paramedics had made a mess. He helped me clean up, apologizing the whole time for the state of things, never once questioning why every single drawer in the house had been opened, never once asking why his wife's fingerprints were on everything. He was so thoroughly, completely fooled that I almost pitied him. Almost. After Derek left, after he'd made me dinner and tucked me into bed like I was a child, after he'd kissed my forehead and promised to check on me tomorrow, I got up. I walked to my computer with my arm in a sling, logged into the security camera cloud storage, and I watched. I watched Vanessa push me. I watched her search my house. I watched her steal from me. I watched her kneel next to my broken body and threaten me. And I downloaded every single second of it onto 3 separate hard drives. Then I called the police. Not 911, the non-emergency line. And I said 6 words that would change everything. I need to report an assault. Detective Sarah Morales showed up at my house Wednesday afternoon with a partner, whose name I immediately forgot because all I could focus on was showing her the footage. She was mid-40s, sharp eyes, the kind of cop who'd seen enough to not be shocked by anything. But when I played that video, when she watched Vanessa shove a 64-year-old man down the stairs and then ransack his house while he screamed in pain, her jaw tightened. "Mr. Peterson, I need you to send me this footage immediately, all of it, every angle you have." I gave her everything. The push, the search, the theft, the whispered threat. 47 minutes of high-definition evidence that my daughter-in-law had committed aggravated assault, attempted robbery, and elder abuse. Detective Morales took notes, asked questions about my injuries, photographed my cast and the bruises that covered my ribs from the fall. She asked if I wanted to press charges. I didn't even hesitate. "Yes, all of them. Every single charge you can file." She nodded, satisfied. "We'll have a warrant by tomorrow. Don't contact her. Don't warn your son. Let us handle this." That night was the longest of my life. I sat in my recliner, arm throbbing despite the pain medication, watching the video over and over. Part of me wanted to call Derek, to warn him, to prepare him for what was coming. But the bigger part of me, the part that remembered him defending Vanessa at the hospital, remembered him thanking her for saving me, knew he wouldn't believe me. He'd think I was confused, medicated, vindictive. He'd choose her over me like he'd been doing for 3 years. So I stayed silent and let justice take its course. Thursday morning, 6 a.m., Detective Morales and 4 uniformed officers knocked on Derek and Vanessa's door with a warrant for her arrest. I know this because Derek called me at 6:47 a.m., hysterical, screaming that the police had taken Vanessa in handcuffs, that they were accusing her of assault, that it was all a mistake. "Dad, what is happening? What did you tell them? This is insane." I took a deep breath and said the words I'd been practicing all night. "I told them the truth, son. She pushed me. She broke my arm. She robbed me while I was bleeding. And I have video proof of all of it." Silence. Complete, devastating silence. Then Derek's voice, small and broken. No, that's not possible. Vanessa wouldn't. She found you after you fell. She saved you. She called 911. I could hear Vanessa screaming in the background, being read her rights, demanding a lawyer. "Derek, I'm going to email you the video. Watch it, all of it. Then call me back if you still think I'm lying." I hung up before he could respond, sent the email, and waited. He didn't call back that day, or the next day, or the day after that. But Detective Morales did. "Mr. Peterson, we've got a problem." "Well, you've got a problem. Vanessa Martinez Peterson isn't who she says she is." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" She sighed, and I could hear papers shuffling. "We ran her fingerprints. She's wanted in 2 other states for fraud. And get this, she's already married, has been for 7 years, to a guy in Nevada named Kevin Martinez. She's a bigamist, Mr. Peterson. Your son's marriage isn't even legal." The room spun. Vanessa wasn't just violent. She was a con artist. A professional liar who targeted Derek, married him illegally, and was probably planning to drain him financially before disappearing. There's more. Detective Morales continued. Kevin Martinez filed a missing persons report on her 4 years ago. She abandoned him and their 2 kids, just vanished one day with their savings. We're coordinating with Nevada authorities now. This woman has left a trail of destruction across 3 states, and your son was her latest mark. I sat down hard, hand shaking. Derek didn't just marry a monster. He married a ghost, a predator, and I'd almost let her get away with it. That night, Derek finally showed up at my house. He looked destroyed, eyes red, face pale, hands trembling. He'd watched the video. He'd been contacted by Nevada police. He'd learned that his entire marriage was a lie, that the woman he loved didn't exist, that he'd been manipulated by a professional criminal. Dad, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have protected you. He collapsed into a chair and cried like I hadn't seen him cry since Martha's funeral. And despite everything, despite the broken arm and the betrayal and the rage, I was still his father. I still loved him. So I let him cry on my shoulder with my good arm around him, and I forgave him. Because that's what fathers do. We forgive even when it costs us everything. Vanessa's bail was set at $500,000. She couldn't make it. She sat in county jail for 3 weeks while her public defender tried to build a defense that wouldn't hold water against 47 minutes of video evidence. During that time, Detective Morales and the Nevada authorities peeled back every layer of Vanessa's fake life, and what they found was staggering. She'd done this 4 times before. 4 different men, 4 different identities, 4 families destroyed. Derek was just the latest victim in a decade-long pattern of fraud, theft, and violence. Kevin Martinez flew in from Nevada to give a deposition. He met with Derek at my house, and watching them talk was like watching 2 survivors of the same war realize they weren't alone. Kevin's story was almost identical. Whirlwind romance, quick marriage, isolation from friends and family, financial manipulation. Then one day he came home and Vanessa was gone, along with $80,000 from their joint account and every piece of valuable jewelry his dead mother had left him. He'd spent 4 years looking for her, trying to get custody of the kids she'd abandoned, rebuilding his life from scratch. She's not a person, Kevin told Derek. She's a parasite, and you're lucky your dad fought back before she bled you dry. The deeper the investigation went, the worse it got. Vanessa had been scoping out Derek for months before they accidentally met at that coffee shop he loved. She'd researched him, knew he was a successful accountant with a widowed father who'd eventually inherit something. She'd planned the whole relationship like a military operation. The quick engagement, the small wedding, the isolation, it was all strategy. And when she'd seen me win that lottery, she'd seen her biggest payday yet, $2 million. She'd been willing to kill for it. Almost did. My testimony at the preliminary hearing was devastating. I sat in that courtroom with my arm still in a cast, walked the jury through every detail of that Saturday morning, and watched Vanessa's face as I spoke. She showed no remorse, no shame, just cold calculation, like she was already planning her next move, her next identity, her next victim. But when the prosecutor played the video for the courtroom, when everyone saw her push me, heard her threaten me, watched her steal from me, something in her face cracked. Not guilt, fear, the fear of finally being caught. Derek testified against her. That was the condition I'd set for maintaining our relationship. He had to stand up, tell the truth, admit he'd been manipulated, and help put her away. It destroyed him to do it, but he did it anyway. He told the court about the financial discrepancies he'd started noticing, the lies she'd told, the way she'd isolated him from everyone who cared about him. He cried on the stand. The defense attorney tried to paint him as a bitter ex-husband, but the evidence was overwhelming. Vanessa wasn't a victim. She was a predator, and predators belong in cages. The trial lasted 2 weeks. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts: aggravated assault, attempted robbery, elder abuse, theft, fraud, bigamy. The judge sentenced her to 5 years in state prison with no possibility of parole for the first 3. As the bailiff led her away in handcuffs, she looked back at me one last time. I expected hatred. Instead, I saw nothing. Empty eyes, hollow expression, like someone had finally turned off the lights behind the mask. She'd been pretending to be human for so long she'd forgotten how. Or maybe she never knew. Derek's marriage was annulled within a month. Legally, it had never existed. Everything Vanessa had taken from him, the money, the time, the trust, couldn't be recovered. But he was free. Free from her manipulation, her lies, her poison. He moved back in with me temporarily while he rebuilt his life, and we started family therapy together. Slow, painful, honest conversations about how we'd both failed each other, how we'd both been fooled, how we'd both needed to be better. It wasn't perfect. Some days we could barely look at each other, but we were trying. And that was more than Vanessa ever gave anyone. I cashed the lottery ticket 6 weeks after the assault. $2 million, minus taxes, minus lawyer fees, minus the cost of everything this nightmare had taken from me. I gave Derek $500,000 with strict conditions: therapy, financial counseling, rebuilding his credit. I donated $1 million to domestic violence shelters and elder abuse prevention programs in Martha's name. And I kept $500,000 for myself, for medical bills, for the rest of my life, for the peace of mind that came from knowing I'd survived. That ticket cost me my arm, my sense of safety, my relationship with my son, but it also gave me something priceless. It gave me proof that I was stronger than the people who tried to break me, and sometimes that's worth more than money. I attended every single court hearing, every bail review, every sentencing argument, with my arm in that cast, even after it had healed enough to remove it. I wanted Vanessa to see it. I wanted her to see the permanent reminder of what she'd done, the evidence of her violence strapped to my body like a billboard. And I wanted her to know that she hadn't broken me. She'd tried. God knows she'd tried. But I was still standing, still fighting, still here. And she was going to prison. The day the judge read the sentence, 5 years, I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired, bone-deep, soul-crushing tired. This whole nightmare had cost me months of my life, my health, my peace of mind, and nearly my relationship with my only son. But as they led her away in that orange jumpsuit, as I watched her disappear through those doors knowing she couldn't hurt anyone else for at least 3 years, I felt something else. Relief. The kind of relief that comes when you finally stopped carrying something that was crushing you. She was someone else's problem now. The state's problem. The prison's problem. Not mine. Never mine again. Derek and I have dinner together every Sunday now. We don't talk about Vanessa anymore. There's nothing left to say about her that hasn't already been said in therapy, in court, in the long conversations we've had about trust and manipulation and how to rebuild after betrayal. Instead, we talk about Martha. We share memories Derek was too young to fully appreciate when she was alive. We laugh about her terrible cooking and her beautiful garden and the way she used to sing off-key in the shower. We're reconnecting to the past we shared before Vanessa erased it. It's slow. It's painful. But it's real. I'll never have full use of my right arm again. The doctors were right about that. I can't lift heavy things, can't grip properly, can't do half the things I used to do before that fall. Every morning when I wake up and feel the ache in my bones, I'm reminded of what Vanessa took from me. But I'm also reminded of what she didn't take. My dignity, my voice, my ability to fight back. She thought I was just a weak old man she could steamroll. She learned otherwise. And that lesson cost her everything. So here's my question for you. For anyone who's listening to this old man's story, what do you do when family becomes the enemy? When the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones hurting you? When loyalty becomes a weapon someone uses against you? I chose justice over silence. I chose truth over keeping the peace. And it cost me relationships, health, time I'll never get back. But I'd make the same choice again. Because some things are worse than being alone. Being victimized is worse. Being silenced is worse. Being destroyed by someone you trusted is worse. If this story resonates with you, if you've ever been betrayed by someone who wore the mask of family, drop a comment below. Tell me your story. Tell me how you survived. Tell me what justice looked like for you. And subscribe to Grandpa's Diaries because I've still got stories to tell, lessons to share, truths that need to be spoken. Vanessa thought she could take everything from me. She thought a lottery ticket was worth more than a human life. She was wrong, and I made damn sure the world knew it. The last time I saw Vanessa was at her sentencing. As they led her out of the courtroom, she looked back one more time, and I smiled. Not a kind smile, not a forgiving smile. The smile of a man who'd won a war he never wanted to fight. The smile of someone who'd taken the worst thing that ever happened to him and turned it into the last thing that would ever happen to her. Some people think revenge is wrong. I think accountability is justice. And watching Vanessa Martinez Peterson spend the next 5 years in a cell, knowing she'd never hurt another elderly person, never con another lonely man, never break another family, that wasn't revenge. That was the universe finally, mercifully, getting it right.